Everyone. So we'll continue and we will get started with lecture number 3. So today we will continue with our discussion on module 1, which is storing and retrieving data. So today we will go over join statement, which is we will be retrieving data from more than one table. So it's basically a continuation to what we have already started, and I will not go over this because we already talked about it in the previous lecture. So now retrieving data from multiple tables. So this is what we did last time. We said if we want to list, when we wanted to list, let's say to list the sale date, the first name, last name of sales, when we retrieved it from one table, we said select and then sale date, first name, last name from simplified sales, because all of those fields, they exist in only one table. So it was very simple, very straightforward when we did that. But now, if we want to run the same query from when we have multiple tables, then we need to identify, the first step is to identify in which table those fields exist. So for example, where does the sale date exist, in which table? So let's look for sale date. Now we actually identified that sale table has the sale date. What about the first name of the customer? So the first name of the customer is in the customer table, and the last name is in the customer table. So now we know that the fields that we want to retrieve data from are in different tables. So since they are in different tables, we will need to join those two tables. So we need to join them based on their common field. So in those common field is the customer ID in the customer table and the customer ID in the sale table. So we need to join them, and to do that, there is a rule of thumb, or actually there is a rule how we can join those tables. So let's look at how the query was when we retrieved the data, or this query, from only one table. So this is what we had. So this is how we wrote it in the previous lecture. But now if we are retrieving this same query from multiple tables, we will need to join those two tables. So this is what we will say. So it's the same thing. We will, in the select clause, we will just identify the names of the columns. So sale date, first name and last name, like very similar to what we did when we retrieved from one table only. But now in the from clause, this is the only difference. Instead of retrieving it from one table, now we will retrieve it from those two tables, because we identified that the sale date is from the sale and first name and last name from the customer table. So to do this is how we write it. So from customer, join sale on the common key, and the common key is customer, which is the name of the table, dot customer ID, which is the field or the common field, equals sale, which is the name of the sale or the table, dot customer ID, which is the common key. So this is how we join tables. So we can also simplify this. Instead of repeating the name of the table again and again, we can use aliases. For example, customer, we can give it an alias. We can call it C as a short. So the C will be the short for customer. So customer C, basically that will be the alias for it. And sale, we can give it, say, sale S. So you can give it any alias as long as you can identify it with that alias. So this is how we are going to, if we want to use the aliases. So we will say from customer C, which is the short for customer, join sale S on. Now instead of repeating and saying customer dot customer ID, we say C, because it is the short for customer. So C dot customer ID, which is the common primary key here between those two, equals S, which is short for sale, dot customer ID. So now this is how we join them. Very straightforward. Now we will practice more and more until you will be actually very comfortable with how to join multiple tables. So now, what if we want to join the manufacturer table and the product table? So to join the manufacturer table and join table, first thing is in the from, we do that in the from clause. So in the from clause, we say from, let's say I will start from left to right. So from product, and then I can give it an alias to make it simple. From product P, join manufacturer M on, the common key between those two is the manufacturer ID, right? So on product or P dot manufacturer ID equals M, which is short for manufacturer table, dot manufacturer ID. Very straightforward, and this is how we do it. So manufacturer M join product P on M dot, so it doesn't matter if you switch them, that would be fine as well. If you start, let's say, with manufacturer dot manufacturer ID, or you start with product or P dot manufacturer ID, should not be a problem. So now you identified that you know now how we can join multiple tables. So now what if we want to join more than two tables? So the same thing. So let's say that I want to join all those tables here, from customer, sales ID, product to manufacturer. So I can easily join them using the common key and the same one we did it. So I can say from customer C join sale S on C dot customer ID equals S dot customer ID, and then I will say join sale item SI, the short for it or alias for it, on S dot sale ID equals SI dot sale ID, right? Then I can say join product P on SI product ID equals P dot product ID, because this is product ID is the common key. Join manufacturer M on P dot manufacturer ID equals M dot manufacturer ID. Very simple, very straightforward. So what is really important is that we understand the logic, and then you will be easily able to join those tables. So that's one way to join tables. So there is the old way of joining tables also. We can learn about it also, where you join the tables in the where clause instead of in the from the from clause. So to do that, actually what we do in the from clause, we list all the names of the tables, and then in the where clause we join them, where we say customer dot customer ID equals sale dot customer ID. So to do that, let's look at how it will look like. So we say in the from clause we list all the names of the tables with their aliases. So I listed all of those guys, and then in the where clause I join them, where I say customer ID equals this customer ID, right? And the sale ID here equals this sale ID, and so on. So you get the idea here, and followed by and. So both of them will give us the same output, but I would it's very important that you know both. And some of you might ask, what about in the exam? So in the exam we will specify to you which one to use. So you will most probably will be using this one, the join, unless you are asked to use the where clause for joining. So now let's say that we want to solve this query. So it is asking us to list the sale date, which is in the sale date is in the sale table, and then first name, last name, and then product name, which is in the product table, manufacturer name, which is in the manufacturer table, for sales of sneakers, and sneakers is a category in the product table. So in this case, we need to join, the first step is to join all those tables that we need our output from. And then we can identify what is in the select clause, which is basically the list of the fields. So we can just say in the select sale date, for, in this case, customer dot first name, customer dot or C dot last name, and then product name, which is here. It's only, we have only one product name, comma, manufacturer name. So, and then the from clause, and then in the where clause, we will need to specify the category equals sneakers. So straightforward. So this is if we retrieved it from only one table, but if we retrieve it from multiple tables, this is what we really need to start with, is the from or the joining clause or the from clause. And then the where is the same. Where clause is the same here. So you will see that the only difference between this table or retrieve this query versus this query is the from clause. So now what if we want to retrieve data from or join the same table? Join the same table. So now we have an employee. So every employee or every manager is actually an employee. And every manager manages many employees at a maximum. So in this case, we can join those guys and show the list of the name of the employee and the name of their manager in front of them. And we will do this actually in the practice, but this is here the solution for it. So now let's go on to the practice. So again, this is chapter number 3 in My Educator for Essentials of SQL. So you will read those, and also I'm going to go with you on some practices, and those are actually, some of them are existing or they exist in chapter 3. So let's go on and work on this. So I have provided you with, for day 3, I have provided you with the slides for this lecture. And also I have provided you with the notes that I'm going to use today. So this is when we, this note actually, as you can see, we have worked on those queries. This is just for you, recap to practice, and we have already done those in a previous lecture. So what I will do is I will move on to the join practice queries. And what I will do also is I will go to My Educator. All right, let's see here if we can move this one here. So I'll move it here somewhere. All right, so what I will do here is I will go to assessment, or actually advanced query editor, and I need Azure SQL Server at Azure. And in this case, since I am dealing with multiple tables, I need to select Red Cat 2. So all of those instructions are provided to you here. So again, so I'm gonna use Red Cat 2. All right. So this is kind of the, I gave you here a step-by-step that you can take, is by looking at the ERD, identifying the fields, as I mentioned earlier, where those fields in which tables, and then which that will enable you to identify the tables that we need to retrieve the data from, so you can join them, and then use aliases and so on. So I will let you read those and follow those rule of thumb rules that you can use to master retrieving data from multiple tables. So now let's answer those queries for practice sake. So the first question is asking us to list sales of black sneakers. So, and then they specify to us, they said our query must show the following columns: the sale date, which comes from the sale table, and then product name, which comes from the product table, and category and color. Category and color comes from the product table, and quantity, which comes from the sale item table, and sale price, which comes from the sale item table. So in short, basically now I can identify which table I need to retrieve this data from. So it is the sale item, and the product, right? So those are the three tables that I need to join. So I will start by select, and then I will move on to the from to join those tables first. So from sale S, so from sale join, and then I will join the next table, which is sale item SI on. As you can see here, I'm moving into the next row, or the next line, just kind of for readability, and it is a very good habit to know to do that. So on, now the common key between those two guys, which is the sale ID and the sale item ID. So I will call it sale ID equals SI, which is short for sale item table, dot sale ID. So now I will join the third table, which is the product. Join product P on. Now the common key between those two tables is product ID sale item, SI dot product ID equals P, which is product dot product ID. P dot product ID. Now I'm done with joining those tables. So now let me get back to what they want me to put in the select, and then I will go back to the where clause later. So select, they want us to show, as they said here, they want us to show sale date, comma, product name, comma, category, and then comma, color, comma, quantity, comma, sale price. And to make sure that everything is spelled correctly. And then in the where clause, I need to specify the black sneakers. So I will say where category equals sneakers, and color equals black. So this should give me the output. So as you can see here, I can see all the color is black and the category is sneakers for my output. Excellent. So we got this guy. So what I would suggest is that you do this and you put your notes here. So, and you save this file for your own notes. That way you can, when you practice later on, practice without looking at your answers, and then come back and see if your answer is correct or not. So now let's run this one, number 2, run the same query as above, but with join conditions in the where clause. All right. So now basically what I remember what we said, the difference between the join versus in the where join. So where we say they want us to run the join condition in the where clause. So I will say from. Now I will list the name of the table, so which is sale S, comma, sale item SI, comma, product P. Now in the where clause, they want me to join those guys. So I will say where. So now let's join those guys. Sale ID from the sale equals sale item. So I will say S dot sale ID equals SI dot sale ID, and SI, which is the product ID, is the common key between the sale item and the product table si dot product ID equals product, or p dot product ID and so I need that and also because it specified the sneakers and the color. So now I will get the same output as I did earlier. So but this is the answer, so you can copy this answer and put it here for your note. Now let's look at the next question, which is asking us to list employees' first name and last name with the first and last names of their managers, right? So employee, which is from here. So what I will do is, now we are actually joining the same table, and we have employee. We want to show the employee name and then also their manager's name. So I will say select, and then I will start with the from clause. So from, and I will call it here employee E, which is for employee, join employee M, which is for manager, on. So now the common key between those two guys is the manager ID and employee ID, right? So on E dot manager ID equals M, which is for manager, dot employee ID. All right, so that's the joining. Now I can select. So the select, I will select in this case I will say E dot first name, which is first name and last name, because that's what they are asking us to do. So E, which is the employee, E dot first name as employee first name, and then I will say E dot last name as E last name, or employee last name, and then I will say M, which is manager first name as manager, if I want to say manager first name, and then M dot last name as manager last name. All right, so now let's run this guy and see what we will get. All right, so now let's see how it looks like. So I have the employee names, and then I have their managers' names in front of them. So does that make sense? Very simple, very straightforward. So we got that. Now let's move on to the next one, where it asks us to list the city and product name for all customers. So the city and product name. So they want for all customers. So the city is from here, and the product name is from the product table for all customers from Washington and New York. So the state is Washington, and that purchased casual shoes. So the casual shoes will be the category from the product table. So they want us to order the output alphabetically by city. So basically I need all those tables from customer all the way to product. So let's join those guys first. So I will say select, and then I will go on to the from clause, and I will start joining my tables. So from customer C, join sale S, on common key here is customer ID, C dot customer ID equals S dot customer ID, and then I will say join. So now I joined the first two tables. Now I will join the sale item as well. Join sale item SI on. So the common key between sale and sale item is s dot sale ID equals si dot sale ID. So join. Now I will join the product with the sale item. So join product P on. So the common key between sale item and product is the product ID. So I'll say on si product ID equals P dot product ID. So now I'm done with joining those guys. So they want us to list the city and product name. So I will say here, select city, comma, product name. Now they specified they want for those customers who are from Washington and New York. From Washington and New York. So now I need to specify this in the where clause. So where state equals Washington and I can't say and because a customer cannot be from Washington state and New York at the same time. So remember, every row is unique. So where state equals Washington or WA or state equals New York. All right, so now let's run this guy and see what and then they want us to order or to sort our output alphabetically by city. So I will say order by city ascendingly. All right, so now let's see. So I have all the cities and the product names. Perfect. So now I have all of that. Oh, but again, they said casual shoes. So I need also to specify the casual shoes. So casual shoes. So that will be in the where clause. So and category equals casual shoes. Right? So what I will do is I will put parentheses or parentheses here because that way the or doesn't get precedence. So I just kind of not to confuse my SQL engine or the database management system engine. So now you will see that I will have the correct output. All right, so now I have everything that I needed to. If you want to double check your answer, you can always include category here. And what else? Maybe state. Just to make sure that your output is correct. So the state here, you can see W and New York, and then the category is casual shoes. So I am my answer is correct. So I'll delete this guy since they didn't ask for it. So my answer is correct. So I can just copy this guy and put it here wherever it needs. So now the last query, it's asking us to list customer city and manufacturer city. So customer city is from the customer table. Manufacturer city is in the manufacturer table. So now what I will need to do is to add another join. So I need to join manufacturer with the product because I already joined all those tables. I need to add manufacturer. So here I will say at the end of the from clause, I will say join manufacturer M and then on P dot. So what is the common key between those two tables? It's the manufacturer ID. So P, which is short for product table, P dot product ID equals M, which is short for manufacturer table, M manufacturer ID. All right. Oh, sorry, not manufacturer ID. With the common key. Oh, so the common key is actually manufacturer ID. So here I don't need the product ID because the common key here is manufacturer ID. So I need P dot manufacturer ID, right? So now manufacturer ID is the common key and I am joining it here. All right, so now If I run it, it will give me a pop-up message, or it will give me an error. It will be confused about the city. Which city do you mean? It will tell me. Is it this city or this city? Because they have two cities and they didn't specify this city here. And again, so I'll go back here. It asks us to list the customer city and the manufacturer city. So basically what I will need here, I will say C, which is customer city, as, and I will give it an alias, column name, customer city, comma, manufacturer city as manufacturer city. All right, so now what else do they need? For all customers from Washington, purchase casual shoes, order output alphabetically by manufacturer city. So now the order by, they want me to specify the city as manufacturer city. So I'll just put the M, which is short for manufacturer table, ascendingly. So I'll run it. Hopefully no errors. So let's see. Ambiguous column name state. So the state, because they have state here and the state here. So here, because they said the customers from Washington. So in this case, the state needs to be specified to be the customer state. So C dot state and then C dot state. So customer state New York and customer state Washington. So now it should run smoothly. So you got the idea now. Perfect. So you should all be now very good to go. And again, what you will need to do is for participation is to go to do 3.1 and 3.2 and the quiz to get credit for this work before the due date, which is May 16 by midnight or by 11:30. So to do that, you will need to go to assessments, and then under assessments you will go to 3, which is here. We'll click on this guy, and like I showed you earlier, you have here the tables, and you will just do those, start typing and then save answers, and then you will get immediate feedback right away. Fix them, correct them, and then submit them, and you will get participation points. So good luck to you, and I will see you next class.